Thank you so much for joining me today on Coffee With. My guest today is a familiar name and a familiar face around Vicksburg, Story Ebersole from Storycook Favorites. You have great food.
Well, thank you.
It's nice to be known for food, huh?
Well, yeah, I think so. If you're a caterer, especially.
That's right. That's right. Well, I appreciate you coming and joining me today. I know that you stay extremely busy. You're kind of the go-to girl when it comes to catering and functions around town. How did you get involved in this business?
I actually, most people don't realize this, but I had a previous life. I was an accountant for 13 years.
Were you really?
I found it to be dreadful, and probably after about 2 years I realized I'd made a terrible mistake. But my parents had paid my way to school, and it was very difficult, even though I was married, and to say, you know, I'm sorry, I'm throwing your, 4 years of college away. But so 13 years, I woke up one day, I told my husband, I said, I think I'm going to quit today. And he said, thank God.
Really?
So I think I must have been a bear to live with. At that time, my youngest was 6, and he was getting ready to go to kindergarten, and I thought, you know what, I'm just going to take a little time off and see what I want to do. And food has just always been very important. My mother wrote the food section my whole entire life. We grew up loving to eat and, just all cooking. And I was the oldest daughter, one of 5 children. I was the oldest daughter, and so I just always was in the kitchen cooking. And I actually read a book, this sounds so cheesy, but I read a book that said, do what you love and the money will follow. And so I'm still doing what I love. I'm waiting for the money to follow, but I am doing what I love, and I think that's so important. I tell people all the time, I've told my children, they talk about, you always, they want to make money and they want to do this and they want to do that. But you're not going to be happy if you're not doing something you love. And so I wake up every day knowing that I can go do something really fun and different, and when you're a caterer, no day is ever the same at all, and that's fun for me. I enjoy going in, and for the first few years I'm one of these people. I wanted to take it very slow and make sure that I knew exactly this is what I wanted to do. So I did start out slowly, but my catering business has grown, and so now, I can go in and I might be having a wedding reception, one weekend for 400 people, and then on Tuesday the next week I might be doing lunch for 3 different doctors, at 3 different clinics all over town. So it's a lot of fun. I enjoy it.
So how long have you been doing this now?
16 years.
A long time.
16
And
years.
how did you come up with the name of your business?
My mother dreamed that up literally in a dream, and she called me the next morning. We were kind of thinking about it, and she called me and she said, I've got it. And at the time, I said, okay, Mom, that's great. And I kind of thought I needed a logo. And Martha Whitaker actually did my logo. Martha's a friend of mine. And she, I told her, I said, Mom has this great idea, she thinks. What do you think? And Martha said, oh, let me work with it. And she drew me up a little logo. And when I first got started, she wrote me a cute little story about, and it was a fairy tale-ish kind of thing about, somebody having trouble in the kitchen, and poof, Story appeared. And I probably don't even have a copy of it anymore. Somewhere maybe, but anyway. So that's kind of how the Storycook Favorites came about.
Well, it's a great name.
Well, it's kind of fun. We laugh because children all over town call me Ms. Cook.
I'm sure they do. Well, until I found out your last name, I figured that was your last name.
And a lot of people do. It's funny about Ms. Cook, and I answer to it, but it's just funny.
Yeah.
So.
Now, you do a lot of your catering at the BB Club.
I do.
Do you own that building?
I do not. Dan Fordyce actually owns the building. I have a lease on the building. Dan, of course, has a business, and he did not want to be in the rental business of a building, and so he put a kitchen in, and I just rent the kitchen from him, and then I manage the rest of the building.
Okay. Now, you're married and have a family.
I do.
And how many children do you have?
I have 3 children. My oldest son is deceased. I have a 24-year-old that lives in D.C., and then my youngest, 22, just graduated from Boston College, and he's working in Boston. So they're both up north.
And what do your kids do?
My 22-year-old just started work for Enterprise Rent-A-Car. He's in their management training program in Boston. And my middle son works for the Department of Homeland Security. He's an economist for the Homeland Security.
Wow. And what does your husband do?
He works out of Waterways. He's a coastal engineer. He, one of those, I don't know, whatever.
So you were born and raised in Vicksburg?
I am. I'm a 5th generation Vicksburger.
Oh my goodness.
I am. Both my parents are from Vicksburg. They actually grew up right down the street from each other. So
That's really neat.
It's fun.
Well, let's talk about your mom.
Okay.
She was the food editor for
50 years.
50 years.
50 years.
And she's written a cookbook.
She has. She has. Mom started work at the paper really while she was still in college, and kind of while worked, and then she went away for a little bit and came back, and when she married Dad, she tried school teaching for a little bit. She's an English major, not a journalism major, an English major, but she did not want to keep teaching when she had a family, and they hired her at the paper to see if she could write a food section. She said, I don't know anything about it, and they said, well, learn, and she tells that in the book. So she wrote for the paper. That was in the early, like 1960s. So she really, she wrote for the paper. In 1977, she decided that she wanted to do a weekly column, really with recipes that she had tested and kind of make it, I always say it's kind of homey, but cutesy. And the column was called From the Kitchen of the Cypress House, which our house, my parents live on Drummond Street, and the house is Cypress, and we just grew up calling our house the Cypress House. And she would write recipes that either she had invented herself, or you might see her in the grocery store, and because she'd written the food section for so long, people would say, oh, I need you, I've got a great recipe. People were always giving her recipes, and she would try them. And if we had one at the house that she liked, she would write a little cute little thing about it, a little blurb about it, and give the recipe. And she did that from 1977 until 2000.
Wow.
And this cookbook is a compilation of her favorite recipes from the kitchen of the Cypress House.
And it's just been published.
It has.
And has it been released yet?
It has not. But we're going to do a release and a signing at the BB Club next Wednesday, June 29th.
Okay.
From 3 to 6. But this is the book.
Wow.
Only a few people have seen it, Robyn. So
that is fantastic.
Yeah.
Can you get that, Chris?
Obviously, that's the Cypress House. So.
Does your mom still live in this
house? She does. And when you open it up, the inside front is Mom actually in the kitchen of the Cypress House.
Wow.
But the book is fun.
Now, is this...
This is our family.
Okay.
This is, I think this was at Mom's 70th birthday, and this is all of my siblings and all of our children, except that my 2 youngest siblings had these 3 after the fact, so we had to put their baby pictures. So this is everybody. This is all the grandchildren. So.
And there are a lot of recipes in here.
We think it's right at 300. We've counted a couple times and then we'll forget, but it's right at 300 recipes. And like I said, they're all ones that we've tried, and the stories and the recipes are what I think people are going to enjoy.
Yes.
It's almost a history of Vicksburg when you read about it.
And look, it has lots of pictures in here.
These are all the people that at some point lived or worked or kind of enjoyed the kitchen of the Cypress House. So that's everybody.
Well, that's a really nice thing. So that's going to be June the 29th at the BB Club.
At the BB Club.
At what time?
3 to 6.
3 to 6. And so they can purchase the book, and she's going to be there.
She's going to sign it.
Excellent.
So we'll have a few samples of just a few little things so that people can get a little sample of some of the treats that are in there. But
that sounds fantastic. I can't wait. I hope that I'm going to be in town. I'm going to come over there and meet your mom.
Well, do.
I've never met her.
Yeah, it's fun. So I think people are really going to enjoy it.
Yes.
Since
and I like it that it's bound like that, so you can lay it flat.
I'll show you. This is kind of fun. The divider pages are all full page spreads from when Mother, not necessarily from 1977, and there are a lot of just old Vicksburg families that Mama just picked that were fun. This is the Lars, and they were a good Italian family. They fixed a lot of ravioli. I think that's what they're making.
Yeah, fixing ravioli.
So all the divider pages are kind of fun. They're
snapshots from the newspaper, actually. Okay, that's really neat.
And there are pictures throughout. People are going to be surprised when they find their pictures, I think, because their pictures, not necessarily the kitchen of the Cypress House did not have pictures. So, but Mama had written for the paper from 1960 to 2000. She just had a lot of other pictures. So we just went through and picked out ones that we thought were fun and tried to get a good from 60 to 2000. So there's about 40, 50 years of worth of pictures in there.
Wow. And how long did it take y'all to compile all of this? Has she been working on this for years?
She really, Mom retired in December of '09, and she started work in January of '10, and I mean, that was her job. She actually went through, I think she told me the other day she figured out she had 10,064 recipes to go through. So she actually put them all in a spreadsheet. She had them pretty well categorized, but she put them, you know, the meats, and I had her do them, you know, beef, chicken. I taught her how to do Excel, but she still didn't know what to do once she got there. So I kind of was like, come on, you do it. And then I could separate them, beef, chicken, pork. Same with desserts, we could separate them. But she would do it, and she'd look at the recipe, and she might say, you know, asparagus salad or whatever, great salad, got the recipe from so-and-so. So it would help her remember, you know, what the recipe was. And then she really went back and culled it and said, this one, this one. There were a couple of sections that just were like, Mom, that's too big. And then she would say, okay, what do you think? And I'd say, nobody's going to make that, you know, Welsh rarebit. Nobody makes Welsh rarebit. Mother, it sounds disgusting. Well, it's going in the book. So, you know. But so she started in, like I said, January of '10, and she was really finished and ready to go in January. So it took her about a year, but that was really what she did all the time. I mean, it was she input all the recipes in the computer and everything.
So and did she self-publish?
We did self-publish, and we found a great guy out in Dallas to print it that we were just thrilled with. So yeah.
And so how many did y'all get printed?
We did 2,000.
Wow. So, and what are they going to sell for?
It's going to sell for $27.50, and they will be available at several places around town.
Okay. So we'll be able to find them easily. But we can buy them at the book signing.
Yes, you can buy them at the book signing. And we'll have a website so for people out of town, they'll be able to log on and order them from that.
Well, this is just fantastic. Now, what have we not talked about that either about your mom or about you or your child or whatever? What have we not talked about that you want to be sure and talk about?
My cheese straws. That's my next thing. Have you had my cheese straws?
Oh, yes, of course. How could you live in Vicksburg and not have Story's cheese straws?
You know, that's just one thing. It's so part of my catering business, and I really started making them just because I wanted to serve them, but it's almost like a whole little arm, and I think if I had a little more get up and go, I would just probably move and find a place and do them a little more. We get a lot of compliments on them. At Christmas, we probably ship out 500 pounds all over the country.
Oh my goodness.
So, I mean, it's fun. Just for you to people call and say, oh, they're great. And so I do like for people to know that they are around, and they got a little spice to them, but you know,
they're delicious.
Good southern treats.
Don't they sell them at Peterson's?
They do.
Yeah, that's where I've had them.
So,
yeah. They're really, really good.
And they ship a lot of them too. They have customers come in. Of course, you know, they'll have them from all over the country. Come in, they'll sell them, and then they'll call and say, we have these cheese straws. Can you ship them to us?
My mom, who is not from here, was looking for a little gift to send to her sister that lives in Minnesota. And we went down there to Bobby's. And I said, oh, you have to send them these cheese straws. So we bought some other stuff. Of course, we bought several different, there's several different varieties, right, of the cheese straws.
We just do we really just do the good spicy cheddar cheese.
So we
there
bought
are some other ones around.
And we sent those, and that was, along with some other things, and that was their, of course, it was their favorite thing.
Oh, good, good. So almost everybody likes them, unless you don't like spicy stuff, and we do. It has a bite to it.
Oh, yeah, but that's what makes them so good.
That's what we think. But I have people say, oh, your cheese straws are too spicy for me.
Now, do you package and sell anything else, or is that it?
Well, I do. I have a line, which is really how I got started, of frozen casseroles that we sell at Peterson's. Or we do have some people come in the BB Club, but most Peterson's carries them all the time. And it actually started off as 6. We had 3 beef and 3 chicken, and now we do 13. So,
and give me some examples of what they are.
Well, chicken tetrazzini is probably our best seller. I always say it's really good funeral food. You know, it's one of those, it's real safe, and people, but we do a lot of chicken tetrazzini. We have a really good chicken enchilada that it's not a tomato-y at all. It's just got a great sauce. One of my favorites, it's our newest one, we've been doing it just a year or so, is a chicken polenta. It's a chopped chicken on polenta, and then it has artichoke hearts, roasted red bell peppers with an Alfredo sauce on the top. So it's really, really good.
So you make this and package it and freeze it, and then all we have to do is pop it in the oven.
We have 4 different sizes, and if you're having something special, I mean, we'll make it to however many, but our 4 sizes that we sell, we have just a little small one. It's a single serve, and then we have a small, medium, and large, and they go from feeding 2 to 3, 4 to 6, 6 to 8. Of course, it depends on how much you like to eat.
Sure.
And the single serve sells for $5.50, and then the large, which 6 to 8, sells for $21.50.
Wow. Well, that's very, very, very reasonable.
The 3 smaller sizes are actually in a dual oven container. So if you really come home and you can't think what you want to have to eat, you pull them out and you can microwave them. So,
oh, wow.
Which is what I do a lot of times when I can't get home and forget that I have to eat.
Last fall, Harley and gosh, there were about 20 of us that had a reception for Liz Swinford. She just come here, and you provided so much of the food. And what I love about what you do is it's always so creative. I mean, it tastes really great, but it always looks so good. And the favorite thing you did, it looks like you took almost like little medicine cups, and put some kind of dip in them, and then you had sliced different colored peppers and stuck little pieces.
Individual crudités is what we call them.
It was so creative, and I loved it.
Well, thanks. That's the fun part about my job. I think it's trying to find creative ways to serve things that people have been eating for years. And I am not a vegetable tray person. I mean, when people call me and say, "Do you do a vegetable tray?" I'm like, "No, I don't do a vegetable tray. I can do something with vegetables, but it is not going to be your typical vegetable tray." So I try really hard to come up with ideas that are
great
different.
for that, because you could hold on to it, and it wasn't messy, and it stayed all in the little cup, and it was
That's
just
usually enough vegetables. People say, "Oh, everybody loves vegetables." No, they do not. People do not love vegetables. They would rather have fattening dips.
Sure, at a party like that, of course. But it was really creative.
Thank you.
So.
That, like I said, that's the fun part of my job, is trying to always think of something different, some different way to serve something that people eat all the time.
So I take it you're giving up on the accounting.
Yeah.
You're going to stick with this.
Definitely.
That's great.
Definitely.
You're making us all fat, but that's okay.
Good. I know. We don't do a lot of diet stuff at Storycook at all, and people say, "Oh, which is your least fat?" And I'm like, they all have real butter and heavy whipping cream. So you're plumb out of luck. You know, we do try not to overdo the salt, but other than that, the butter and the cream is just,
That's the good part.
Yeah, it's the good part. That's what I tell people. We don't do low fat. We do good food.
Well, Story, thank you so much. It's been so much fun, and I'm looking forward to the book signing for your mom, and hope that I'll be able to make it.
I do too.
Thank you for coming and having coffee with me today.
Thank you.
Promotional consideration provided by
Amber Sanders from Happy Hair. Get your hair happy at 3402 Wisconsin Avenue.